Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troop Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
How about the Dogs?
How about the Dogs? Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dawgs Show with Troop and Smooch. In case you missed it, the Dogs victorious once again over the Texas Longhorns, as it were, 35-10, and a game that we had lots of anxiety for, and it was one of those situations. There was a lot of things lining up for Texas this year again, but they are just no match for Georgia Bulldogs, and we have proven it 3 straight times, Smooch.
There just ain't no way that Georgia can do it 3 times in 1 year. I know they can.
Yeah, you know, as painful as the realization that Alabama holds some sort of mental edge over Georgia, which I don't think you can deny it at this point, but Georgia can take solace in knowing that they hold the same mental edge over Texas. Texas came into that game with all of the swagger. They've got the greatest quarterback in a generation. They've got this elite defense, and they're going to come in, and they were just taken apart look, they were up 3-0 at one point, and that was as good as it got for them, Drew.
That was as good as it was. And the reason I say things were lining up for them, because we saw something very similar from Georgia last year with their backs against the wall, people doubting them in certain aspects, and they went right on into Austin and took care of business, very similar the way they did this weekend. But you thought that maybe Texas would have that motivation and have just that urgency to just let it turn everything loose if they were that kind of team. I think what we learned that they just aren't that kind of team. I don't care what the media wants to promote them as before the season or their quarterbacks, or they got a good defense, but there's a lot missing with this Texas team. But I want to ask you a question before we get going too far.
Yeah.
Why, Smooch? Why do you think that Georgia has Texas's number? Is it having their number, or is something else going on?
Well, it's actually a great question. I think it's a couple of things. I think that Kirby does understand Steve Sarkisian. There is something about what he does that Kirby gets. We've seen it over the last few years with Josh Heupel as well, whereas Josh Heupel can beat Alabama. Josh Heupel cannot beat Kirby Smart. There's something about what Kirby gets. We saw a much closer game with Tennessee this year. Props to them for that. But I think with Texas, they have been – the reason we have their number is because the Sankey and the SEC brass did them no favors in giving them the cupcake schedule last year and not throwing them right into the SEC gauntlet where you began to become shapened and hardened by the absolute ridiculous amount of competition that you face every week. Texas was protected, and Texas played like a protected favorite child. They played like an only child this past Saturday, and Georgia took it to them again. This is a battle-tested Bulldogs team, and when it comes down to it, Texas is not. Now, they're going to be after getting whooped by Georgia so many times, but I think that's the reason.
Well, I think a lot of folks around the country looked at it as maybe a weakness for Georgia. They would say things like hard to kill, or they just, come back kids. They're really good in the second half, but in the same breath, I think, or they would say that Georgia playing these close games was obvious that they just weren't elite or weren't good enough to take care of business, because you can't, if you're going to compare everything to 2021, 2022, you're always going to be feel like you're missing something. You're not quite there.
Amen.
Or if you're going to play schedules like Ohio State does, where you play one meaningful game a year, it's going to make you feel like you're better than you are. Georgia has been hardened. Georgia has found out what they're all about, which I think is great. And a lot of times we question Kirby. I don't think he ever goes into a game. Some of these games you should win by 40 points, and it's a lot closer. You find out a lot more about your team when you do hamstring them somewhat, and you give them a limited amount of tools to win those games. And we don't love it, but we do love it when you get to this point in the season and you're playing your best football. We said it last week. We said Georgia was peaking. And now everybody's saying it.
Well, to be fair, Troop Brenson, I know you don't toot your own horn, but you said it before any national media said it, and it wasn't even close. You said you can look back and you can see the incremental steps that Kirby's taken this team through to get them to this point. They are peaking exactly when Kirby wants them to peak, and that is what we saw. It was, everybody at the beginning of the season was expecting this to be the season that Texas sort of arrived at this powerhouse. Well, let me tell you what arrived this past Saturday. What arrived was the best team in the country. For this past Saturday, Georgia was the best team in the country. They did it, week 10? They came right in. They played better. They had the best quarterback in the country. They played the best game of anyone in the country this past week. Now, is that sustainable? It certainly looks like the momentum, as Josh Pate would say, as he was copying Troop Brinson, the momentum is pointed upward from here.
Man, oh man, I don't care if Gunnar Stockton wins the Heisman, and I would love for him to be there because that was definitely a feather in Georgia's cap, but I don't really care about that. But how good is he? We all had questions about him coming into this season about how far he could take us. Would he be just a serviceable quarterback? And I felt like, I even said it in one of the shows, he has the opportunity to show you his potential at some point. He can show you he's a lot more than you ever thought he was. But I didn't see it coming this year. A lot of times it takes more time, takes a season under your belt, an off season to get there, right, having faced all these games. But he's just that special kind of a dude, is put it together week after week, getting better, improving things. So, I mean, how good is he? How good is Gunnar Stockton, Smooch?
Well, I'll tell you, Troop, I began mentioning Gunnar Stockton to you when he was in the 9th or 10th grade, and we were hearing about this kid. So I have been a huge fan all the way from the Tiger days, all the way back. I have been a huge Gunnar Stockton fan. And then I will be quite honest, once he got the reins this year, there was a period of time where I was like, could I have been wrong? Is he really the guy? I'm talking about this season, where you're sitting there thinking, is he really the guy? And all he's done since those days where there were some vanilla performances, some struggles, and some really bad offensive line play, all he's done since then is get better every week. Troop, let's not forget, early in the season, Gunnar could not look downfield. If he could tuck the ball to run, or he could stay in the pocket and throw. He could not scramble and make plays, and now he's doing it like an elite-level quarterback. He's made that adjustment this season, and that is the type of – when you talk about elite quarterbacks are always getting better. Tom Brady was better the last game he played than he was the 5th game he ever played. He got better his whole career. Gunnar Stockton is showing that ability to constantly improve and get better at various things as he goes. I think the sky's the limit. I think he can be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I think he can be an elite quarterback at the college level. He's showing it.
Yeah. He's turned what we thought were weaknesses in just a matter of weeks, something that was a weakness that you just had to play with that limitation, into a weapon. And that's not hyperbole, because when he rolls out and he moves defenses around now and then makes passes on the run, and he made some passes on the run that were pinpoint, quick release, getting rid of it quickly, on target. And with pressure, he's doing it all. He takes the hit. And that was some of the things early on. I was like, he doesn't have quite the pocket presence. He was running around the tackles to avoid the rush. And he has, like I said, in just a few weeks, he's cleaned that up. And now he is a weapon every time he has the ball, whether it's him running the ball or manipulating the defense to get the matchup that he wants.
Do you remember us saying in our group thread, look, we love Gunnar. He's got an accurate arm, but he can't layer the football. Do you remember that conversation? We had that conversation. Did you see the throw to London Humphreys for the touchdown? That's a layered throw. That's a throw in front of people and over people, in between people. He layered that throw. We've seen things that we did not know were so immediately improvable. We've seen those get better with Gunnar in such a small amount of time. You can understand why his teammates would lay down in traffic for him. He owns the locker room. This is Gunnar's team, guys. Gunner's not the guy at the wheel. This is Gunner's team. Period. You're going to go as far as Gunnar goes. Gunnar is not managing the game for Georgia. It's his team. It's been since Stetson that we could say that.
Yeah, and I knew going in this season, and there was questions about what kind of a runner would he be? Does he just prolong the play, run when he has to get a couple of tough yards? Because we all went through the Stetson years where he was a weapon running the ball too, and we knew it should be an advantage in the red zone, especially within the 10-yard line. That +1 quarterback is huge, and Georgia is one of the best teams at converting those into touchdowns in the country. Very high ratio, but he is a different runner than Stetson. Stetson was a little twitchier, and but he's just as effective. He's just as effective at and he's still shifty. He makes people miss. And when he gets headed towards the goal line, he'll shake one guy, and then just you're not stopping him at that point. And so in the red zone, he is that weapon that you really have to have in today's college football. It makes it such a big advantage to have a quarterback who can do what he does. And now that he's diagnosing things, and Mike Bobo is having maybe one of his best seasons as an OC. Those things are all coming together. Yeah.
And if you look at Gunner's fifth touchdown from the game, that was his rushing touchdown. You can see him set that up with his eyes. Yeah, he did have to put a move on a guy at the end of the touchdown run, but if you watch what he does, he manipulates two different DBs with his eyes and just a little bit of a shoulder fake, like he may throw the ball, comes up, takes the ball in. If you want to, I was thinking about this. What is Gunner's style? If you've got Stetson Bennett on one side and on the other side you've got Tim Tebow, Gunner Stockton is right in the middle of those two types of guys. He's physical, he's fast enough where, Tebow uber physical, Stetson Bennett uber fast, and Gunner's somewhere in the middle. But Troop, he mixes so much football smarts in with his runs. He's able to make some really good ones. And right now, we're seeing him go out of bounds and slide and things like that to protect himself. Wait till you get into the postseason where he's ready to lay it all on the line and see the types of runs you get when he starts to put his head down and fight for those extra yards. Because I just got a feeling right now he's just playing smart. We see him take the step out of bounds or slide on some of these runs. Georgia's weakness last year was just scoring when they got inside the red zone, and now it's their greatest strength, and you almost know they're going to stick it in when they get down there now. That's because of one player, Troop Brinson.
Yep, that's Gunner. And those tight ends don't hurt either. And Noah Thomas had his best game so far.
Yeah.
Catching the first two touchdown passes. And one more point on Gunner that I loved seeing. It was the second play of Georgia's first possession. Georgia had just the first play. Bobo snapped it too early, and they were lucky it wasn't a disaster.
I gotta tell you, I was like, oh, here it goes. The wheels are about to come off because he was playing with that wrap on his hand. I was freaking out when he made that snap.
But then they baited one of the best defensive players in college football, Colin Simmons. I forgot him. Colin Simmons, to bite down on the running back, and Gunner just took the next play 15 yards and said, no, calm down. We gonna be fine. Yep. He read it perfectly. He knew that guy was going to be aggressive, handed a little fake handoff, and he took it himself for an easy 15 yards. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, now let's just settle down into this, and we're going to be good.
We're going to be just fine.
Smooch, 2 years in a row, this has been the most satisfying game. These big Texas wins, because Georgia has kind of put some of their best effort. I do think there's some reasoning behind that. You said it earlier. I feel like Coach Smart really understands that offense that Sarkisian's running, and they know exactly what to do, how to space it out on defense, and what to try to take away some of those deep overs. That's really what they want to do, and put you in conflict. And Georgia, it's very similar, like you said, to how they handled Tennessee. They've got some things figured out. They've got their philosophy on that, and they stick with it. And Sarkisian, ask a lot of Texas fans, they're getting irritated that he doesn't make adjustments and change things. He's just very confident in his system. He's going to run it and try to run it to perfection.
He's a system guy. You're right.
It works. It works a lot of times where if you got the right quarterback, but it hadn't worked enough the last 2 years. And they can tell you, well, we made the semifinals 2 years in a row. Did either of those Texas teams look like they were going to win a championship?
Not even close.
They didn't. They got some good draws there and that to get them to that point. But I just think that Kirby Smart is very comfortable defending this offense, and Kirby's just better. He's better at the details.
Yeah,
he's better at preparing his team, and is evident in the 3 games, even though that SEC championship game was, it was a nail biter, went to overtime. Texas wasn't scoring many points again because Georgia's very comfortable with that passing offense, and they don't run the ball. I mean, crazy. Is it crazy to look at these numbers?
This is insane, guys. Listen to this.
It's huge. I mean, we could talk about all 3 games because they haven't run it at all. Like, what, 80 yards in 3 games, so to speak?
It's in the 70s, yeah.
73. Texas had 35 yards rushing in the first quarter, and I was like, okay, well, they're committed to running the ball, and they're going to have a pretty good game rushing, potentially. 35 yards in the first quarter, minus 12 the rest of the game, ending with 23. We will factor in the sacks. They do factor in there. It doesn't matter. 23 yards rushing, negative 12 after that first quarter. That was a huge key to the game. And it's a reason that a lot of the media are saying that Texas is just too finesse. They give up on the run too quickly, or they're not committed to it. They're not physical enough. And Georgia is physical. And hearing Kirby Smart's comments after the game here, he says, we come here to hit. We're going to hit people here at Georgia.
Yeah, and Troop, I'm going to say a few things that are going to sting for Texas fans. Look, you had you had better periods of play last year because Quinn Ewers was making throws last year that Arch Manning does not make this year. I mean, that's terrible to say, but it's true. In case you're wondering why Kirby didn't put away Heupel as easily, or he had trouble with DeBoer this year, it's because Tyler Simmons made throws that were perfect. Aguilar made throws that were perfect. They're making throws that Arch Manning cannot make. You want to know the difference? Did Texas scheme a few guys open by a half step? Yeah, and then Arch missed them by 2 steps. We saw that time and time again. They did not make – Georgia puts you in a position to where if you have to execute perfectly to beat them, and Texas doesn't have that ability. And what Sark doesn't show is the ability to scheme open people. Sark shows the ability to run a system. He's dedicated to the system. He wants the system to feed you. And much like Heupel's system, it does really well against bad teams and not so good against good teams. But anyway, I just think, look, I love Arch Manning. I think he still has the potential to be an elite quarterback and a first-round NFL draft pick, all that. But he's not there yet, guys. He just didn't make elite-level plays. There was only one elite quarterback on the field Saturday night, and it was not Arch Manning.
And we looked at Arch Manning, and people say he's a mobile quarterback. He may hurt you running the ball, and Georgia's defense doesn't really give up many lanes. That's part of that defense that maybe limits their ability to really, really get after the quarterback because they want to control that. He had negative 17 yards rushing. He did have 3 sacks. I think it was 3, and 5 carries for negative 17. So he wasn't a factor.
Constant pressure. Consistent pressure, I guess we could say.
It was consistent pressure, but Texas was their own worst enemy.
Yes.
A lot of times. Now, we're not going to say that Georgia didn't facilitate that, but the penalties and the drop passes, that's of their own doing.
First drive, right? First drive, drop pass, yep.
Yes, and 9 penalties for 58 yards. And if you say, well, the refs are they're just going to give Georgia every break they can give them. Texas is one of the most penalized teams in the country. This is not just a this week against Georgia thing.
And these were not borderline calls. These were obvious calls. The defensive holdings, the pass interference. So they were, and matter of fact, they picked up a couple of pass interference calls. The penalties were pretty obvious, guys. You cannot argue officiating. I heard some podcaster try and argue it today strictly by the fact that Georgia played cleaner than Texas, saying that proves there was a bias. Nope. One team just played cleaner.
Yeah, when you're a better team, you make less mistakes and you're more buttoned down. Georgia executed better. Georgia didn't shoot themselves in the foot as often as Texas did. And Georgia didn't. I mean, Gunner did throw an interception in that second quarter, I think it was, or was it third quarter? Third. But UGA's line did create consistent pressure where they just kind of pushed the pocket in on him. They got free a few times, especially Elijah Griffin.
90. Oh baby, he's here. He's no longer a freshman. He's no longer a freshman, guys. That's a player.
He was whipping offensive linemen and getting back there and flushing Arch Manning. But even when they didn't get a free run, they were pushing the pocket and they were squeezing it and they were right in his face. And so he had to some of the throws he makes he's got a quick release. I mean, he's got a skill set.
Yeah, of course.
but they just aren't consistent enough to have long drives, and Georgia's going to make you drive it. Like I said last week, if they don't have explosive plays for touchdown, if they have to have long 10, 12 play drives, that's playing into Georgia's into Georgia's strength, because a lot of teams just can't continue to do that, and they can't do it without hurting themselves. And Texas is not one of those teams, which tells you Texas is good. They're just not great. They're not elite. They're good enough to beat a lot of teams, and when they are on a roll and they can hold momentum, then they can beat probably the majority of teams, but they just aren't. Obviously, on Georgia's level, Georgia's just playing better football right now, Smooch. But we named those defensive linemen. It was, Willie Griffin and Kristen Miller, 52.
Yeah.
Gabe Harris played well. So did Quinn Johnson. All those guys contributed to that. There was one defender that we've been telling you about, and everybody notices him now.
Yeah, I hope so.
Jones.
I know one guy notices him now.
I called every one of his games in high school football from the radio booth.
Yeah.
But I said this several weeks ago when he was just starting to get some snaps, and I was still anxious, especially after the Alabama game where he was in there really for the first time in a big, big game. And I was like, he's got the skill set, but what you really when he comes to his own, what you're going to notice is he's physical. He's physical because we were missing that. We were missing that physicality at safety. In the defensive backfield, we're missing that. And I said, that's what his forte is. Hopefully we'll see that soon. He'll get comfortable and the game will slow down. You'll be able to see some of that. That's what you're seeing now. He did that in high school.
Yeah, we saw
He did that. He was when you saw him slam Wingo down early in that game, and everybody is still watching that, and that kind of feels like maybe the personality this defense wants to gravitate towards. I like that. We saw that. I saw that in high school. I saw him do that.
That's awesome.
Like I said, he was likely to get a penalty. If he was doing it near the sideline, he may tackle you out of bounds. I knew that was part of his game. Now he's doing it, but he's doing it disciplined, where he's setting the edge. Yeah. He's setting edges on some of these screen plays and some of these plays that could get outside. He's playing physical and being very tough to block. And then making the tackle too. Love seeing that.
Well, you talk about identity, right? And what is this team? You're starting to see this secondary very well may take on his identity. Just as for years it was Lewis Seen or Javon Bullard or even Chris Smith back there. Now we're seeing DeMello really be the on-the-field intensity leader. He's setting the thermostat, as we say, right? He's the one turning it up to whatever it's going to be at. And so I think it's great. I think it's great to see these guys, these 5 stars, finally start to find their footing and start to establish themselves and give the team an identity going forward, because they're still babies. DeMello's he's second year, right?
Yeah, redshirt freshman. They're all starting to play much better, and like I said, the game's slowing down for them. Now, as much as we talk about how great it was, and we have a lot of fun, we were talking about doing a rapid reaction after the game, and I was like, Smooch, we partied too hard over here for me to get on the microphone right now. It was celebrating, yeah. And because it's important to celebrate these wins and enjoy the moment, soak it in.
Well, you had a bunch of family. You had a bunch of family over.
My boys were over here, and we were having a great time. And even my grandkids were over here, so they were I had to get on to them a few times because they were jumping up and down and running between me and the TV. And I was like, hey, all right. Now,
there's a right way to do this.
Don't make me. But even though we had so much fun, Georgia got out, started quickly, 14-3. Do you feel like, I guess we had some questions, were there some missed opportunities there in that second and third quarter to make this much less memorable fourth quarter?
Yeah, so I do. I think that Georgia did turn inward. I don't know what you call it when they sort of call off the dogs a little bit on offense. I don't know what the nomenclature is for that on in Kirby's locker room. But yeah, I felt it. You could feel an intensity dial back on offense, and we kept letting them just hang around, and we let them score again, and they're just getting a little closer. And then all of that was erased by the onside kick, right? Yeah. I really think if they don't get that onside kick, or if they don't even attempt that onside kick, we maybe do have a little darker cloud, even around what will probably still be a victory, saying, why did we let this team back in? But it was what I would say 3 possessions of conservative play calling, vanilla play calling.
It was a little more than that.
May have been more than that.
But when I look back at it, I know that it's not fun for fans. Kirby wants to manage the game, though.
That's right.
He's trying to manage the game.
Complimentary football.
And it gets. And I was in on our chat, and we were like, was Georgia's trying to run the ball, and there's not any room to run it right now. Mm-hmm. They were putting 6-7 people up there, and so they were coming after because they kind of had to. They wanted to change momentum, and they wanted to do it with their defense. But if you're not going to try to dominate a game and force your will when you're ahead, when are you going to do it?
Right.
When are you going to do it? And so Georgia had a lead, and they want to run some clock, limit possessions for Texas, and control things while they can. And you know, Georgia trusts their running game. So if they bust one right there, you got all these guys up front. You bust one tackle, get to the second level, and you got an explosive play.
Which was the thinking, yeah.
Now, and I even look back and say, well, Georgia just beating their head against the wall. During 3 possessions, Smooch, 3 of those big possessions we're thinking about, they only ran the ball 4 times.
Interesting.
But a couple of those was Chauncey Bowens didn't really have his best game. He was not satisfied a lot of times with where the lanes were. He tried to bounce it out and do too much. It was a couple of times where he lost yardage on first down. Mm-hmm. And so once you get in the 2nd and 12, and that happened in the third quarter too, once you get behind the sticks a little bit, then you're just trying to catch up and make it a 3rd down and 2, 3rd down and 3, something like that. It's just manageable. And then even they got into that, then there was a couple times where there was just immediate rush right up the middle, and Gunner had nowhere to go. So I know he wanted to manage the game. I don't know if he was as conservative as it felt. It felt like, as a fan, let's go up 3 scores. Let's go up 3 scores right now, and then we can. Yeah, that's what we really wanted. And then I did watch. Let me see. I'm trying to remember. They did have a good kick return that set them up close to midfield, or 44-yard line, 46-yard line, and they just couldn't. That was the end of the half where they couldn't quite make that one play. Mm-hmm. Now I think that was the play where the ball was batted down back into Stockton's face. I don't even think he had a man open, but I was like, ooh. Yeah. But just things conspired there for Georgia not to pull away until Georgia got the ball. I think that's when Stockton threw an interception, and Smooch says, oh, maybe we should play conservative. I mean, we were joking around, but he's like, maybe being conservative is not a bad idea.
That's right. Maybe they're on to something.
And that led to the Georgia's one penalty, which kept that drive going. It was 3rd and 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And then Zion Branch ran up. I don't know why he did this. He was ahead of the sticks. He thought he had a play read, and that little double move, and he grabbed him, which led to a touchdown another play later. Yeah. But after that, 5:29 to go in the third quarter when Georgia took over. And they were just putting a little small drive together, Smooch, until they got to the 36-yard line. And it was 3rd down and long. They threw a little swing pass to Cash, and he just short of the first down. So 4th and 1. Mm-hmm. And they took a timeout to make sure Cash didn't get that first down. And then Georgia brought their offense back out there. So 5:29 is when they started that drive. Yep. And we know what transpired. Kirby showed you. We were watching it. I think even on the chat, we're like, oh, my God. Yeah. Georgia just gave up a touchdown, and they're only up by 4. And if Texas stops us here, they're going to be in great field position to go ahead and take the lead. That is a huge momentum swing, just that play right there. The onside kick was just stomping you in the throat.
That's exactly right. But that was the foot on the throat. The
big play was going for it on 4th down right there and running that little perfect play to Chauncey Bowen swinging out. They once you get to this point of the season, you have so many plays that I would call them tendency breakers. Because teams study your tendencies, and they're prepared for your tendencies. That's what Texas had 2 weeks to prepare for Georgia's tendencies. And so they use that against them. So they have these tendency breakers. They'll line up a certain way that shows you 80% of the time they're going to run this play. And then they do – you see one of these little plays that run off of it that Bobo is calling. It feels so much like what Monken was doing, some of these plays where he's tagging plays together, using plays that are complementary or tendency breaker type plays that you seem to have a lot of people open because the defense is reacting to what they've seen over and over and over on film, and they've been beaten in the head about you got to stop Zach Branch on this screen, and Georgia uses that kind of similar thing against you.
I thought any minute and any second now they were gonna fake that screen to Zach Branch and go deep. They never pulled it out in this game, but rest assured it's in the repertoire. I'm gonna tell you something, Troop. These last few games, especially, Bobo is a more consistent play caller than was Monken. Monken was good at scheming men open. Right? He could scheme McConkey open 30 yards down the field. He was good at that kind of thing. No one denies it. We'd love to still have him. Bobo is consistently matriculating the ball within his offense. He's not running give-up plays to set stuff up. He's running a screen as though it's a handoff on first down and getting 4 yards and using that to set things up. I think this has been an absolutely elite season from Bobo. And this team is becoming feared because now that they've established tendency, now they've established unpredictability, because it's almost like they spent the first 70% of the season showing you what they're going to do so they can do something else. And you're starting to see the reaping of the reward, the picking of the fruit from that setup all year. I think it's been a great season for Bobo. We saw it from the onside kick on. It was a masterclass in how to put a team away.
Yeah, and they did one of those plays right after they went for it on fourth down and got it with Chauncey Bowens. Then they had another fourth down where they got Colin Simmons to jump off sides, and then stinking Noah Thomas got absolutely mugged, grabbed and held.
Yeah, what was that? And then
they just picked that up.
Yeah.
Anyway, a play later, it was a very similar, like you said, Monken would do with Ladd McConkey. Mm-hmm. It was Humphreys, London Humphreys, and he just confused the defense. They covered the same guy, and he ran wide open for a 30-yard touchdown. Georgia went up 21-10. Mm-hmm. Like I said again, that drive started with 5:29 to go in the third quarter. After Georgia had scored there, Big Balls Kirby kicked the onside kick, and he really enjoyed that. You see him on the sideline. He was so pleased with himself and his team for executing that, because that's the championship kick in the throat kind of a play. And you can look at Sark, and Sark's just got this look on his face like,
yep,
there's nothing. He's got is emotionless because it's all drained out of him at that point. Georgia didn't give the ball back to Texas until 8:49 to go in the fourth quarter, and by that time Georgia was up 28-10.
So you've heard Kirby talk about the fact that they run that play. That onside kick was a textbook Kirby Smart preparation play. They run that play every day. How many times did he say Cash Jones has recovered? He said
probably 250.
Yeah, 250 times. So much that as soon as he recovers it, he begins to skip like a gazelle, and rather than fall on the ball, he skips like he's been gifted a new jump rope by his daddy, because they had run that play so many times, and that was the place to use it. I loved it. And at that point, when they recovered that, it was the first time all game I sat down in my chair. I'm like, okay, all right.
See ya.
Show me what. Yeah, that's right. See ya. Show me what you got the rest of the way. I'm gonna watch for enjoyment the rest of the way.
On our chat, it was like night came back out. Night.
Night. That's exactly right. Where is Night?
Yeah.
There's Night right there, guys.
Javon Bullard. But that was definitely when Georgia got to that point. We knew it was all over. We were just going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Let me see what else I got here, Smooch. I will tell some of you fans who don't know the rules, and I didn't know the rule. I had to look it up afterwards. You can't advance. You cannot advance your own kick.
Right. You can't.
So once he recovered it, he going down was the only thing he could do, because you can't advance your own kick. Now, if Georgia onside kicks it to Texas, they can advance it all the way to the end zone, but right. Georgia can't.
Yeah,
that changed, I think, 15 years ago.
Exactly. So the rule is this: if they touch it, and what's called a muff, then you can still just recover it. It's the same thing. If they possess it and they fumble, you can pick it up and return it. That's the rule. So that's the reason Cash, even one of the commentators, why didn't he just keep running? Well, because the play's the play's dead the moment he touches the ball. You cannot advance an onside kick. You can only advance a fumble. And so that was the deal on that.
Another detail that I learned since then, that they had drilled and everybody asked, "What's wrong with Thorson, our punter? What's wrong with Thorson? He had some terrible punts. He had his worst day as a Bulldog.
Yeah,
they had drilled in his head so much to get hang time and avoid hitting anything.
Oh, they're afraid. They're afraid of the kid. They're afraid of the kid returning
to nibble it, and it was in his head. He was trying his best not to kick it to him, and he trying a little bit. He didn't yet. It didn't hurt us, but man, we used to seeing him pop about 50 or 60 yarders to really flip the field. And one time it was like a 15, 20 yarder and set them up on Georgia's side of the field. I was like, can't do that.
Yeah, it looks like they got in his head. Yeah, just let him play his game. If you punt it 75 yards, it doesn't matter how fast the other guy is.
I agree. But yeah, pretty clean game from Georgia. One penalty for 15 yards, only that one turnover from Gunnar Stockton. And a lot of people are crediting Anthony Hill with just a spectacular play. He did have a good play. Georgia tried to go back to, I like what I saw with Elias Williams. They tried to use him again. He was in blocking for a good bit. But that play where they got single coverage and had him running out. Yep. And nobody says he got shoved in the middle of that route to kind of throw him off. But that's a play that they continue to work it and go back to it. Anytime you get single coverage, get him out there. There's no defense for that. You just got to grab him and hold on.
That's exactly right. I'll tell you something I'd love to see from Gunnar. Now, we're splitting hairs at this point because we're talking about where Gunnar can improve. But when Noah Thomas and Elias Williams are one-on-one, make that more of a 50-50 ball. Just put it up. Gunnar's still trying to make the perfect back shoulder throw to these guys where you could really just kind of lob it up there and they're going to go make the play for you. So that's kind of something I'd like to see. When Elias Williams is one-on-one, there's nobody out rebounding him. That ball's either hitting the ground or he's catching it. That's the only two options. So you don't have to be quite so perfect on that.
Gunnar Stockton did end up, let's look at his stats, only 5 incompletions, 5 touchdowns total for him and 5 incompletions. That's a good stat.
That's
to
win
you
numbers,
most games against that vaunted Texas defense. And they are a good defense.
Yes, they are.
But Georgia's, this is preparation, Smooch. It's still preparation and execution, and Georgia was very, very good at that, and they got the right quarterback for that too. Did you see Georgia drop any passes? Didn't see that.
No.
You didn't see very many mistakes at all. Very few busts on the offensive line either. 24 for 29, 229 yards. That's almost 8 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns. And Nate Frazier with 16 carries for 72 yards. He ran, especially in the second half. Man, he was running hard.
North-south, man. He stayed north-south in that second half. That was huge.
Gunnar Stockton with 6 carries for 29 yards, almost 5 yards a carry. Bowen's only 8 carries for 19 yards. Like I said, not his best game. We did see Dylan Bell do the things that he had a big play where he did that little end around, and he's just a good runner at that point. They get the numbers, and Dylan Bell is a weapon. And so all good stats from Georgia's offense. Let's look at look at some receiving.
By the way, Georgia fans, if you want a prediction from the Dog Show, Dylan Bell's going to pull up and throw one of those here in a few weeks. So just keep watching that end around. He can throw the ball too. Yeah, just keep watching.
Very well could. Noah Thomas, four receptions. 2 of those were touchdowns. Zach Branch was again the leading receiver. 6 receptions for 41 yards. London Humphreys had that 30-yard touchdown reception, 55 yards total for Humphreys. And so that's it. Let's look at Smooch. Look at some snap counts because we like to know. I had somebody ask me about it last week. They said, how much time does it take for you to sit down there and get all these snap counts? I'm like, no.
Takes forever, man.
Yeah. Let's see.
We have a source.
Yeah, we do. Let's. I'm trying to see if anything interesting. We know the quarterback and running back situation. And really wide receivers, too. We did see Thomas Blackshear get 1 snap. That was interesting. C.J. Wiley got 5 snaps. Let me see. Elias Williams, got 13 snaps. So he's holding steady in there. Offensive line, those guys
whipped some booty tonight. Ernest Green on that pull. I think I got the video right here. Oh, my gosh.
Well, and he's a guy who hasn't been playing all the snaps. He's kind of been rotating. No, he played every snap at right tackle.
God bless him. And he killed it.
And Monroe played every snap at left tackle, and Drew Bobo played every snap at center. So all 63 snaps. Where they rotated was at the guard position. And so Micah Morris is the one that's losing some snaps. He had Dontrell Glover had the most at guard for 49. Micah had 40. Gaston 37. So they're keeping all those guys fresh. They're getting good snaps. And that's really it for those guys. Looking at the defensive line, Smooch, you had the trio that we've already named. Well, we didn't name. There's one we missed. I'm sorry about that. Joseph Jonah Ajonye.
Yes.
He had the third most snaps at 28 behind Griffin, who led the way, the freshman, with 34. Christian Miller with 32. Xavier McLeod with 17. He played well.
He did play
Josh Horton with 14. And Ugboko with 7 snaps. One word on Ugboko, we really like him as a young, a very aggressive and very big man on the defensive line.
Yeah.
They have a commitment from his brother as well, an offensive lineman, and he just got his 5th star.
He just got his 5th star. We're talking about top offensive lineman in the cycle on some people's boards.
Yeah, and if he's anything like his brother, man, they can play some ball.
If he's as nasty as his brother, we'll take him on the O-line. Yeah.
So looking at this last little thing, I'll call out the linebacker because we saw, unfortunately, C.J. Allen go down in the second quarter. And what I'm hearing is that, as Kirby Smart said week to week, it wasn't bad news, but he might not play the next couple of games. Yeah. And we hope that doesn't affect his, some of the things he was missing earlier in the year with a hamstring. We don't hope it doesn't affect his athleticism. It could.
Yeah.
But they showed you what they can do when somebody goes down. Even the leader there.
Yeah.
Chris Cole led the way with 45 snaps.
Good for him.
Quinn Johnson, 43. Raylan Wilson, 41. Gabe Harris, 36. Justin Williams, again, in there with 20. Zayden Walker, who got a strip sack, true freshman, with 19 snaps. Elam Wadozie with 15. C.J. Allen with 19. Chris Jones, only 8.
And Zayden Walker's just carving him out a little role, isn't he? A little more every week. Walker. He just chips on another one, a few every week.
Yep. They got him. He plays typically a middle linebacker, but when they put him on the edge and let him rush, man, he's just got that kind of skill set.
Yep.
When we talked so much about DeMello, I was interested to see. I mean, he still had a little brace or something on his elbow. He played like he wasn't in any pain whatsoever. But you'd be surprised to know that the 2 top cornerbacks did get the most snaps. I guess Dalen Everett with 62. KJ Bolden had 49, but Ellis Robinson had 20 more snaps than DeMello did. He had 46 to DeMello's 26.
Wow. Okay.
It didn't seem that way, did it? Because DeMello was in on so many plays.
He was in on plays. So that means it's purely an injury thing. So they are protecting that elbow, whatever it is. Yeah.
But they put him in collision situations, and he's
not shying away from them, is he? Yeah.
So KJ Bolden with 49 at safety. Zion Branch was the number 2 safety at 32. He pretty much split even time with Ja'Cory Thomas, who had 31 snaps.
I'm happy to see that too. I think we need some competition at that safety position right there. Let's keep them equal to one person takes it from the other. Yeah.
When things got a little garbage time. Jaden Harris with 14 snaps and Rashawn Dinkins, I love that name, with 11 snaps.
Okay.
That's your snap count.
If KJ Bolden doesn't go down to a knee on that interception, he's still running. I mean, that is
he hated it too. He said it afterwards.
Yeah. I just think it never crossed. He was so focused on catching the ball, he realized he had his knee on the ground, but that is first of all, no one's catching him from the back anyway, but there was nothing but green grass. That would have been nice, but that's okay.
Yep. Now, more Georgia's defense, and ideally, this is what we had hoped would happen. Offensively, it's happened to a degree that I'm very surprised how good the offense is and the well-oiled machine they look like, where they can do whatever they want and they can trick you just by having those tendency breakers. But defensively, this is kind of the ideal situation that we expected Georgia to continue to get better. The secondary to get more experience and to play the game to slow down for them. You're seeing that, especially with those cornerbacks. We still got to shore up some stuff at safety.
Yes.
But in the defensive front too is starting the last couple of games. You're seeing they're applying pressure. Even as far back as the Florida game, they're starting to apply pressure.
That's a good point.
The sacks will come. But they are able to apply pressure without really putting themselves at risk too. They're not creating these huge running lanes and getting out of position. These players, it's got to be tough. You really want to get to the quarterback. You can get out of your lane really quick and create these huge gaps and huge holes that puts your defense at risk. And they really haven't done that at all. So a very disciplined defense that is growing in terms of the production recently.
And they're going to need it, right? They got Haynes King coming up in a game that those guys are going to be lit to play against Georgia. And if you come in undisciplined against Haynes King, he's going to have 200 yards rushing and 200 yards passing. You're going to find yourself in a bad situation. I have been really impressed. If you want to know are all these players just really playing better? Are the linebackers, the secondary, are they just playing better suddenly? I'm going to be honest with you, Troop. It just comes down to we're getting pressure without having to blitz 6 and 7 men right now. I mean, that's it really is just that simple. When Elijah Griffin is winning every first step he took, I think he won in this game. You don't see it as terms of a sack. You don't see that. You might not even see him get the pressure. It's just winning that first step and setting the clock off in the quarterback that changes everything. And we saw it all the way down the line. That's the biggest difference, Drew.
Yeah, when you watch the game that when everything's happening, you miss so much. You just follow the ball. Our eyes follow the ball. Right. When you go back and watch it a second or third time and you're focusing on certain things, you see, if you don't have to follow the ball, just follow what certain players at the line of scrimmage. Yes, Griffin was unblockable for most of that game.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had he's done a good job to the point where you didn't, he wasn't making mistakes that was costing you, but he wasn't wrecking the offensive line and getting back there. That
right,
he's never going.
Yeah,
there's no Jalen Carters out there, but that's the kind of unblockability that will change games, and it will allow you to do that without sending people that will put you at a disadvantage in the mid level. So, we've been enjoying this one, and I immediately went to the Texas's board, and Texas is not fun to argue with because they're not arguing with anybody right now. They're
gotta get rid of Sark, man. Get rid of Manning and Sark.
Get rid of them. They just don't have it, is what they're saying. I think I don't think that. I think Sark has got to do like a lot of coaches have to do. He's got to look inward and self-assess, and his team and his coaching staff, and make some changes where they need to, and make some changes with how he approaches games. And he's learning.
He's a good coach. I don't know how you're going to get rid of Sark and get a better coach, guys. No. I really don't think you're going to do that. Sorry.
He's learning because he did get taught some lessons on how to win some SEC games this past 2 years by Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart does it better than anybody else. Just look at the record. You don't have to like him. Our rivals can say whatever they want, name calling, all that, but he's doing it better than everybody else. And Kirby has progressed and gotten to the point where the game is slow to him and making some of these calls. And just I've never quite seen him go for the throat like he did that game.
Such a good point. Yes.
Dude, he likes Sark. They're friends. But it felt like he didn't like him at that point. I'm like, what you trying to hurt this man so much for? Come on.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It felt personal.
Yeah, and it was deep down a show of respect. If I don't put you away, you may very well get back in this thing. But absolutely, I think we've seen Kirby evolve in terms of it used to be roll the talent out on the field, get a lead, sit on the lead, run the clock out. That doesn't win anymore. Kirby has evolved. He has changed his plan because of it. He's gone to a guy that runs an elite offense. That Kirby didn't come in saying we've got to have an elite offense at Georgia. He's like, give me 2 guys that can run the ball on offensive line, and we'll play some defense and beat in every game. That was his original strategy. Completely different now. And my point is, to go with what you're saying, I think Steve Sarkisian has shown the ability to mold and change and get better and evolve with the game. I don't think you pull the plug on him yet. I know they want to, but who else are you going to go get? You going to go? I mean, there's not another Kalen DeBoer out there, guys. I mean,
well, and it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous if you really look at it because, he has got them in the playoffs 2 years, and he's getting beat by some good teams. Let's just say that.
Yes, he's getting beat by elite teams.
So that's going to happen. That's going to happen sometime. I do think I also will say Arch Manning, and we said this before the season, before everybody kind of figured out what we felt like we knew, that it wouldn't be this year that Arch Manning was his best. It wouldn't be. If you won this year, then you'd be happy, really happy about it. But he is not the difference maker. He could be next year. Yeah. But you can have that. You can still have that elite skill set, which he has, Smooch. There's something that you're noticing with players like Stetson Bennett and now Gunnar Stockton. It's amazing that I can even put his name in that same sentence right now.
Isn't that crazy?
They have an it factor when the game is at its most tense moments, or when it's third downs, when it's fourth downs. But they just got it. They make the majority of the plays when it means the most, and that's I don't know how you measure that. And a lot of folks will never have that. But you don't have it. The fact that he doesn't have it this year doesn't mean he'll have it next year, but he's got a better shot. I think Arch has a better shot next year to show you, put all those things together.
Yeah. Well, and I think he can do all of that. Now, you talk about the it factor, he hasn't really shown – he's shown all the talent in the world. He hasn't shown the it factor. Look, we've started saying it around my house, like, fourth quarter, the game was pretty close. And, we all put our four fingers up in the air here at the house, and we're like, all right, Gunner, go write your name in the book again, go do your thing. Because you just know, okay, he's about to play his best football now that it's on the line. You don't have that in Arch yet, but you may. But with Gunner, it is complete confidence in him when the game's, especially when the game's on the line. It reminded me, this completely unrelated really, but Stetson Bennett against Auburn. We had struggled all day. The game was really close, and Stetson breaks out with that 65-yard touchdown run. And we had just said, look, Stetson's going to get it done. He's not going to lose to Auburn, and then poof, 65-yard, whatever it was, touchdown run. That's the it factor. Gunner's got it. Stetson had it. And give Manning some time to develop it.
We're very, very thankful that Gunner stuck around here and proved the doubters wrong, because we've seen him play in a couple of spring games, and it felt like, he was limited. You just don't know until you know. You can suspect, and he had the right personality and he was a
coachability.
Tough individual. Yes, but he's a football player, and he embodies what this team's about. And so it's a fun season. We got an off week. No, we don't have an off week. We got a Charlotte week. They're 1-9.
Careful, man.
Careful in Charlotte, or against Charlotte. It'll be senior night, senior day, 12:45 kickoff in Athens.
Yeah.
For the Bulldogs, and number fourth ranked Bulldogs right now, AP poll. We'll see what the college football committee says. They've probably already done it as we're recording this. We haven't checked up on it.
Probably so, yeah.
But you guys already know that, so this won't be any information for you by the time you get to it.
Right.
And then we got the good old-fashioned hate the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday afternoon, 3:30. Can't wait for that. That'll be the next game where Georgia, that's the next game where the last game of the regular season before things really start to matter, when you start getting to those elimination games in the playoffs. I'm so glad Georgia took care of business this past weekend, Smooch. And there's no more angst right now.
No.
It's just enjoying football.
Absolutely. If you told me before this season started that Georgia had a legitimate shot at an 11-1 season, I would have said, "Oh, that's cute to dream, but I don't see it with this schedule." And here we are. Georgia's only loss was by 3 points. And here we are looking at an 11-1 season, and they're playing the best football they've played all year. Got to go get it done against Tech. I think those two teams are trending in two opposite directions right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer. We probably won't cover the Charlotte game all that much unless there's some major
We'll just
drama
talk about Tech
injuries, and we'll be talking about Tech. So
because they play Pitt. Did they play Pitt this weekend? That's a losable game for them.
That's a losable game for them, and they're showing the ability to play down to their competition right now, really playing with their food. So,
but they really should have lost this past weekend. They could have lost easily this past weekend. Great game, but yeah. All right, Georgia smacks Texas again, 35-10, and puts a nail in the coffin in that third and fourth quarter.
Yeah,
and we can't wait to talk about it again. We'll be back next week, talk some more football. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
We want Georgia! We want Georgia!
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
You want Georgia. Isn't that adorable?
It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
Yeah, that's right. All right.